Long before modern Scotland became a land of castles, legends, and mist-covered mountains, there was a kingdom so powerful that neighbouring rulers feared even speaking its name. At the heart of that kingdom stood Blackthorn Castle a fortress built on towering cliffs overlooking the restless North Sea. The castle had survived countless wars, deadly storms, and ruthless kings. Yet its darkest enemy had never come from outside the walls. It had always lived within them. For over 300 years, the royal family guarded a terrifying secret. A secret buried so deeply that every servant, soldier, and noble who discovered the truth disappeared without explanation. Ancient records were burned. Portraits vanished. Names were erased from history. But legends always survive. Old Scottish villagers whispered the same warning whenever darkness covered the Highlands. Never speak the princess's name after sunset. Never follow the singing voice coming from Blackthorn Castle. And if you ever see a young woman wearing a crimson crown standing beside the cliffs, run before she sees you. Most people believed those stories were nothing more than tales created to frighten children. They were wrong. Because nearly 700 years ago, there truly lived a princess whom history was ordered to forget. Her name was Princess Isolde. She was born during the coldest winter Scotland had seen in generations. Snow covered the kingdom for almost 4 months. Rivers froze. Livestock died. Even the sea remained silent beneath sheets of ice. The royal astrologers gathered inside the castle only hours after her birth. Instead of celebrating, they became terrified. The oldest astrologer stared at the night sky through his bronze telescope. His hands began shaking. He whispered only one sentence. The crimson moon has returned. The king demanded an explanation. But no one dared answer. Finally, the oldest priest stepped forward. There is an ancient prophecy, he said. A princess born beneath the crimson moon will either save Scotland, or destroy every royal bloodline forever. The great hall fell completely silent. Queen Margaret held her newborn daughter tighter. King Alistair laughed. He dismissed the prophecy as superstition. I rule this kingdom, he declared. Not the stars. The priests said nothing more. But every one of them secretly feared the king had made a terrible mistake. Years passed. Princess Elowen grew into the most admired child in the kingdom. She was kind to servants. She wandered through gardens instead of attending endless royal banquets. She secretly learned healing from village women instead of hunting like the other nobles. Even the guards adored her. Whenever she smiled, the entire castle seemed brighter. Yet strange things followed wherever she went. Flowers bloomed in winter. Birds gathered outside her bedroom window every sunrise. Wild wolves refused to attack when she walked through nearby forests. Some called these miracles. Others believed they were warnings. On the night of her 16th birthday, everything changed. The royal family organized the grandest celebration Scotland had ever witnessed. Hundreds of nobles traveled across the Highlands. Music echoed through Blackthorn Castle. Candles illuminated every hallway. Wine flowed without end. No one noticed the old woman standing quietly outside the castle gates. She wore a torn black cloak. Her silver hair reached almost to the ground. The guards laughed at her appearance. Leave, they shouted. This celebration is for royalty. The old woman smiled. I have brought the princess a birthday gift. The guards pushed her into the mud. One even struck her walking stick. As she slowly stood again, her smile disappeared. She looked toward the castle towers. Then she whispered words no one understood. The wind stopped. Every candle inside the castle suddenly went out. Dark clouds swallowed the moon. The celebration froze in complete silence. Far above, Princess Elowen felt an icy hand touch her shoulder. She turned around. No one was there. But a soft voice echoed through the darkness. The curse has awakened. Before anyone could react, a deafening scream echoed across Blackthorn Castle. It was the princess. And from that moment onward, nothing in Scotland would ever be the same. The terrified scream echoed through every corridor of Blackthorn Castle. Music stopped. The dancers froze. Crystal goblets slipped from trembling hands and shattered across the marble floor. King Alistair rushed toward the castle tower, followed by guards carrying flaming torches. When they burst into Princess Elowen's chamber, she was standing perfectly still beside the enormous window. Her eyes were wide open. She wasn't crying. She wasn't speaking. She was simply staring into the darkness beyond the cliffs. Elowen! Queen Margaret cried as she embraced her daughter. Slowly, the princess turned her head. Her beautiful blue eyes had changed. For a brief second, they glowed a deep crimson. Then the strange color vanished as if nothing had happened. No one dared mention what they had seen, but every person in that room knew something impossible had just occurred. The royal physician examined the princess throughout the night. Her heartbeat was normal. Her breathing was calm. She showed no signs of illness. Yet Elowen remembered nothing about the scream. "The last thing I remember," she whispered, "is hearing someone call my name." King Alistair dismissed the incident. "It was exhaustion," he declared. "The guests will never hear about this." The celebration continued the following day, but the atmosphere had changed. Where laughter had filled the castle only hours before, fear now walked every hallway. Servants whispered in secret. Some claimed they had seen shadows moving on the walls without candles. Others swore they heard footsteps echoing through empty corridors after midnight. The oldest maid refused to enter the princess's room. "I've worked in this castle for 40 years, she said. "I know the difference between ghosts and something far worse." 3 nights later, the first death occurred. A young palace guard named Duncan was assigned to patrol the northern tower. Just before sunrise, his body was discovered lying near the cliff's edge. There were no wounds, no signs of struggle, only one horrifying expression frozen upon his face. Pure terror. Clutched tightly in his hand was a single crimson rose. No roses grew anywhere near Blackthorn Castle. King Alistair ordered the death to be declared an accident. But rumors spread faster than royal commands. The villagers began whispering that the ancient curse had finally returned. Princess Elowen blamed herself. "I don't know why," she told her mother, "but I feel as though something is following me." Queen Margaret gently held her daughter's hands. "You are not cursed. You are my daughter." But deep inside, even the Queen was beginning to doubt her own words. Days turned into weeks. Stranger events unfolded across the kingdom. Healthy horses refused to enter the castle grounds. Dogs barked endlessly toward the western tower. Children claimed they could see a woman dressed in black standing on the cliffs every full moon. Yet whenever soldiers searched the area, no footprints were ever found. Unable to ignore the growing fear, King Alistair summoned every priest, scholar, and healer in Scotland. Among them arrived a mysterious monk named Brother Sorellen ***. Unlike the others, he did not bow before the king. Instead, he walked directly toward Princess Elowen. He looked into her eyes for several silent moments. Then he whispered, "So, it chose you." The entire royal court fell silent. King Alistair demanded an explanation. Brother Sorellen slowly removed an ancient leather-bound book from beneath his cloak. Its pages were older than the kingdom itself. The cover bore a strange symbol, a crown surrounded by black thorns. "I have searched for this castle my entire life," the monk said. "This book tells the story your ancestors tried to erase." King Alistair frowned. "My ancestors built this kingdom." Brother Sorellen shook his head. "No, your majesty. They built it upon a promise they never intended to keep." He carefully opened the fragile pages. Inside was an illustration of a young princess. She looked exactly like Elowen. The same face. The same eyes. Even the same silver necklace hanging around her neck. Queen Margaret stepped backward in disbelief. "Impossible." Brother Sorellen's voice grew quieter. 7 centuries ago, another princess lived in this castle. She disappeared the night before her wedding. History says she died. But history is lying. The room became deathly silent. Brother Sorellen turned another page. The ink had faded with age. Only one sentence remained clearly visible. ***, when the crimson moon rises again, the forgotten princess shall return to reclaim her throne. ***. At that exact moment, a freezing wind burst through the castle windows. Every candle in the hall was extinguished. Darkness swallowed the room. And from somewhere deep beneath Blackthorn Castle, a woman began to sing. A haunting melody. So beautiful, yet so terrifying, that every person who heard it felt their blood turn cold. Princess Elowen slowly lifted her head. Without blinking, she whispered words that were not her own. ***, she has been waiting for me. ***. No one moved. No one even dared to breathe. The haunting song continued to rise from beneath Blackthorn Castle, echoing through its ancient stone walls like the voice of someone trapped between life and death. Princess Elowen stood motionless. Her lips continued to move, but the voice that came from them was no longer her own. It was older, colder, filled with centuries of sorrow. ***, she remembers. ***, the voice whispered. Queen Margaret rushed forward and held her daughter tightly. Elowen, look at me, please. For a few terrifying seconds, the princess did not respond. Then suddenly she collapsed into her mother's arms. When she opened her eyes again, she remembered nothing. Brother Sorellen looked toward the king. We are running out of time. King Alistair's patience finally broke. I've had enough of riddles, he shouted. If you know the truth, speak it now. The monk slowly nodded. Then he opened the ancient book to its final surviving chapter. The story begins 700 years ago. At that time, Blackthorn Castle was ruled by King Malcolm a ruthless monarch feared throughout Scotland. He had only one child. Princess Isolde. She was loved by the people for her kindness, wisdom, and compassion. Unlike her father, Isolde believed that a ruler should protect the weak instead of ruling through fear. The people adored her. But inside the royal court, not everyone wished to see her become queen. Among the king's closest advisors was Lord Rowan a man consumed by ambition. For years he secretly searched for an ancient relic known as the Crown of Shadows ***. According to legend, whoever possessed it would gain unimaginable power. But the crown demanded a terrible sacrifice. Royal blood. Only the blood of a true princess could awaken it. Lord Rowan convinced King Malcolm that Princess Isolde had betrayed the kingdom. He forged letters, bribed witnesses, spread lies throughout the court. Even loyal nobles began believing the accusations. Without a trial, without allowing his daughter to defend herself, King Malcolm signed her death sentence. But Rowan had no intention of killing her. Death would be too merciful. Instead, he ordered that Princess Isolde be taken beneath Blackthorn Castle, to a hidden chamber carved deep inside the cliffs. There, she was chained inside a stone tomb, buried alive. As the heavy stone door closed, Isolde cried out one final time, "Father, I am innocent." But no one came. For 3 days, she remained alive in complete darkness, alone, hungry, terrified. On the 3rd night, she made a desperate promise. If justice will not find me, my spirit will. The chamber shook violently. The candles burned black. A cold wind filled the tomb despite there being no opening. Something ancient, something unseen, answered her plea. When Princess Isolde finally died, she did not leave the castle. Her soul remained trapped beneath it, waiting, watching, remembering. Brother Sorellen closed the book. That is the curse. An innocent princess was betrayed by her own blood. Until the truth is revealed and justice is restored, her spirit can never rest. King Alistair's face turned pale. But what does this have to do with Elowen? The monk looked directly at the princess. Because she carries the same royal blood. The curse believes she is the rightful heir. That night, Elowen couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the same dream. A long stone corridor, a flickering torch, a heavy iron door, and behind it, a young woman wearing a torn white gown. Her wrists were wrapped in rusty chains. She slowly raised her head. It was Princess Isolde. Tears rolled down her face. "I never wanted revenge," she whispered. "I only wanted the truth." Then she reached out her hand. The moment Elowen touched it, she woke with a scream. Her bed was empty. The window was open. And muddy footprints, bare, delicate footprints, led from her room into the castle corridor. The guards searched every hall, every staircase, every tower. Finally, just before dawn, they found Princess Elowen. She was standing at the entrance of a forgotten passage hidden beneath the castle chapel. The ancient stone door, sealed for centuries, was now wide open. Cold air poured from the darkness below. On the wall beside the entrance, someone had written 3 words in fresh crimson letters. Asterisk asterisk, she was innocent. Asterisk asterisk. Brother Sorellen stared into the darkness. Then he quietly drew his sword. The tomb has opened. And whatever has waited there for 700 years is no longer alone. The hidden passage had remained sealed for nearly 700 years. No servant had entered it. No soldier had dared to explore it. According to ancient legends, the tunnel had been cursed long before Blackthorn Castle was even built. Now, its massive stone door stood wide open. A freezing wind drifted upward, carrying the smell of damp earth and forgotten death. Brother Sorellen tightened his grip on his sword. King Alistair ordered 12 of his finest guards to prepare their torches. No one wanted to be the first to step inside. But Princess Elowen did. "I have to go," she whispered. "They're calling me." Queen Margaret grabbed her daughter's arm. "No, I'm not losing you." Elowen gently held her mother's trembling hands. "If I don't face this, it will never end." The group slowly descended into the darkness. Each stone step seemed older than history itself. The walls were carved with strange symbols that no one could understand. Some looked like crowns. Others resembled twisted branches wrapping around human hearts. The deeper they walked, the colder the air became. Soon their torches began burning with blue flames instead of orange. Brother Sorellen stopped immediately. "Blue fire. The spirits know we're here." Hours seemed to pass inside the endless tunnels. Then, they entered a vast underground chamber. Everyone froze. Thousands of candles surrounded the room. Yet none of them had ever been lit by human hands. Every single flame burned black. At the center of the chamber stood a magnificent stone throne. Upon it rested a crown made entirely of black iron thorns. The crown of shadows. Even after 7 centuries, it looked untouched by time. King Alistair instinctively stepped toward it. Brother Sorellen blocked his path. "Don't." The crown chooses its victim. It is never worn. It is accepted. Suddenly, a woman's voice echoed through the chamber. Soft, gentle, filled with unbearable sadness. "You finally came." The black flames began dancing wildly. A pale figure slowly appeared beside the throne. It was Princess Isolde. She looked no older than 20. Her white gown was torn. Rusty chains still hung from her wrists. Yet there was no hatred in her eyes. Only grief. Queen Margaret could barely speak. "You're real." Isolde smiled sadly. "I was forgotten. But I never left." Princess Elowen stepped forward. "I've seen you in my dreams." Isolde nodded. "You carry my blood. You carry my pain." Elowen's voice trembled. "Did you curse this family?" For the first time, Isolde looked heartbroken. "No, I never cursed anyone. The curse was born from greed." She slowly pointed toward the black crown. "That crown feeds on betrayal. Every king who chose power over justice made it stronger. Brother Sorellen suddenly understood. The curse wasn't created by the princess. It was created by those who betrayed her. Isolde closed her eyes. Exactly. Without warning, the ground shook violently. Cracks spread across the stone floor. One by one, the black candles extinguished themselves. A deafening laugh echoed through the chamber. It wasn't Isolde. It wasn't human. From the darkness behind the throne emerged a tall figure dressed in ancient royal armor. His face was hidden behind a cracked iron mask. In his hand rested a massive sword stained black. Brother Sorellen whispered in horror. Lord Rowan. The spirit slowly removed his helmet. His face had become twisted by centuries of darkness. His eyes burned like molten coal. You still speak my name, he laughed. I thought history had forgotten me. King Alistair raised his sword. You murdered an innocent princess. Rowan smiled. No, I murdered a kingdom. And I enjoyed every moment. The ghost raised one hand. The chamber exploded with dark energy. Several guards were thrown across the room. Their torches went out instantly. Only Brother Sorellen and Elowen remained standing. Rowan looked directly at Elowen. You were born for one purpose. Finish what Isolde could not. Place the crown of shadows upon your head. Become the queen of eternal night. Elowen slowly stepped backward. I would rather die. Rowan laughed again. You don't have a choice. The black crown suddenly floated into the air. It drifted toward Elowen as though pulled by an invisible force. She struggled to move, but her body refused to obey. The crown stopped only inches from her face. Its iron thorns slowly began unfolding, ready to pierce her skin. Just as it was about to touch her forehead, Princess Isolde threw herself between Elowen and the crown. A blinding burst of white light filled the chamber. The crown of shadows crashed onto the stone floor. Rowan screamed in rage. You foolish girl. You would sacrifice yourself again. Isolde looked at Elowen with tears in her eyes. I couldn't save myself. But I can still save you. At that very moment, the walls of the ancient chamber began collapsing. Massive stones crashed from the ceiling. The hidden kingdom beneath Blackthorn Castle was falling apart. Brother Sorellen shouted over the deafening roar. Run! But if we leave now, Rowan will escape with the crown. And if that happened, the curse would no longer belong only to Scotland. It would spread across every kingdom in Britain. The final battle had begun. The underground kingdom trembled as enormous stones crashed from the ceiling. Dust filled the air. Ancient pillars cracked apart. The chamber that had remained hidden for 7 centuries was collapsing. Yet no one moved. Everyone's eyes remained fixed on the crown of shadows. It lay on the stone floor, glowing with a dark crimson light. Lord Rowan slowly picked it up. His twisted smile grew wider. For 700 years. He whispered. I waited for this moment. He gently placed the crown of shadows upon his head. For a heartbeat. Nothing happened. Then the entire chamber exploded with darkness. A violent wave of black energy threw everyone backward. The walls cracked. The ground split open. The air itself became impossible to breathe. Rowan's body began changing. His ancient armor fused with the shadows surrounding him. Long black thorns wrapped around his arms like living vines. His voice no longer sounded human. It echoed like dozens of voices speaking at once. You should have let history forget me. Now, you will witness the birth of an eternal kingdom. Brother Sorellen struggled to his feet. He raised his ancient sword. Protect the princess. The remaining guards charged toward Rowan. Their swords struck his armor. Nothing happened. One after another, they were thrown across the chamber by invisible force. Within seconds, every guard lay unconscious. Only 3 people remained standing. Brother Sorellen, Princess Elowen, Princess Isolde. Elowen looked at Isolde. There has to be another way. There is, Isolde replied softly. But it demands the same sacrifice I made centuries ago. Elowen shook her head. No, I won't let another innocent princess die." Isolde smiled for the first time. "You already understand what makes a true queen." Brother Sorellen suddenly remembered a passage from the ancient book. "The curse cannot survive where truth is spoken before the crown." He looked toward King Alistair. "There is still one lie that has never been confessed." The king lowered his head. For years, he had protected the honor of his ancestors. But now, he understood the terrible cost of silence. Slowly, he stepped before Rowan. Then, in a voice that echoed through the ancient chamber, he declared, "My ancestor, King Malcolm, condemned his own daughter without justice. Princess Isolde was innocent. Our family built its throne upon betrayal. I confess that truth before heaven, before Scotland, and before her spirit." The chamber fell silent. The crown of shadows flickered. Tiny cracks appeared across its surface. Rowan screamed, "No! Silence! The truth destroys everything." Isolde stepped forward. For the first time in 700 years, the chains around her wrists shattered. One by one, they fell onto the stone floor. The light surrounding her grew brighter. Her sorrow was finally beginning to fade. But Rowan refused to surrender. With one furious roar, he gathered every remaining shadow into a single storm. The darkness rushed toward Elowen. If it reached her, the curse would simply choose a new queen. Without hesitation, Isolde threw herself into the path of the darkness. A blinding explosion filled the chamber. White light and black shadow collided with unimaginable force. No one could see. No one could hear. Only silence remained. When the dust finally settled, the crown of shadows had become nothing more than broken pieces of black iron. Lord Rowan had vanished. Nothing remained except his empty armor, lying lifeless upon the floor. The curse was over. Princess Elowen searched desperately through the fading light. Isolde. There was no answer. Only a gentle breeze moved through the chamber. Then, a glowing figure appeared one final time. Princess Isolde looked peaceful. Free. She smiled at Elowen. "You gave me what I waited 700 years to receive. The truth." She looked toward King Alistair. "Rule with justice." She turned toward Queen Margaret. "Love is stronger than fear." Finally, she looked back at Elowen. "Never let power become more important than kindness." As the first rays of morning sunlight reached the underground chamber, Princess Isolde slowly disappeared. This time, forever. Months later, Blackthorn Castle was no longer a place of fear. The hidden tomb beneath the castle was sealed with white stone instead of black iron. A beautiful memorial was built in honor of Princess Isolde. For the first time in 7 centuries, her true story was written into Scotland's royal history. No longer remembered as a traitor, but as the innocent princess who saved an entire kingdom. King Alistair ordered every surviving record to be restored. No page would ever be burned again. No truth would ever be buried again. Years later, when Elowen finally became Queen of Scotland, she ruled differently from every monarch before her. She listened before judging. She forgave before punishing. And every year, on the night of the Crimson Moon, she placed a single crimson rose upon Isolde's memorial. Not as a symbol of the curse, but as a promise that justice would never again be sacrificed for power. **** ending narration ***. Even today, some travelers claim that on quiet nights, when thick mist covers the cliffs of Scotland, they see a young woman dressed in white walking peacefully through the ruins of old Blackthorn Castle. She no longer wears chains. She no longer cries. She simply smiles before disappearing into the morning light. Perhaps legends never truly die. Perhaps they simply wait for someone brave enough to uncover the truth. And perhaps, the greatest curse was never magic at all. It was the silence that allowed injustice to survive for centuries.